This clause, Mr. Speaker, 3(4), is one of the most consequential provisions in the bill as it relates to consumer protection. It states that among the provisions that every contract must include are: 1, the right of the buyer to terminate the agreement early, a prohibition on the seller repossessing the goods in the absence of a court order, where 70% or more of the higher purchase price is being paid. 3, an obligation of the seller to provide notice to the buyer of an intention to repossess goods where less than 70% of the purchase price has been paid. And the right of a buyer to make good on a breach having had notice of intention to repossess. Mr. Speaker, these are some of the substantive rights and obligations that are enshrined in various clauses of the bill.
So the legislation, Mr. Speaker, comes back to equality. So what happens if the seller did not do that? Before he comes to seize or to take possession or to recover the chattel, he must go to a judge. So it's not unilateral. It's not done by you parking your car somewhere, as the Honorable Member, Minister Hamilton says, and you come back and it's gone. That can't be done. It must go to a judge. The judge must understand whether it's reasonable in the circumstances to allow the forfeiture to take place. He must understand what are the reasons for the alleged default. Did you tell the buyer what he had to pay? Is he sure of the date of payment? Is he certain of the interest rate that applies? These are issues that you will explain to a judge. Now, if you haven't complied with the statutory provision and you have informed the buyer, then a judge is empowered to give you relief. He can exercise his discretion and say, well, look, you might not have complied with the letter of the law, but you should still benefit from your bargain.
Mr. Speaker, it would be important that they open themselves to further amendments. It might not happen now. All that we have there, we support, but we would have supported 2 additional add-ons. And the fact that they're criticizing us for the add-ons, which they themselves indicated ought to be regulated, is against even and contradicting their arguments. So I am urging, Mr. Speaker, that they still have an open mind for the sake of the poor people out of the country there and the consumers that we are fighting for and which they ought to fight for. A lot of, if you didn't know, Mr. Speaker, a lot of what caused the delays in this thing, and I remember it all is a lot of the influence from these sellers. Sellers in Guyana got tremendous influence. And they were the ones that were saying a whole set of things. But I'm glad now that they come around and they indicated that they're going to support this. And we have a bill now that will be, in a way, the law that will govern it, the Hire Purchase Act.